Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack here. It is now Wednesday, the 28th of August, 2024. Going to start off showing you something pretty chilling. You know, August 28th, the end of August, a pretty infamous time period for nasty hurricanes throughout our history, especially the last 20 years or so. We had, even a year ago, Idalia was bearing down on the Big Bend area of Florida. 3 years ago, 2021, of course, we had Ida, another ice storm, and that was going to be bearing down on parts of the Louisiana area. And then, August 28th, 2005, one of those days before, it's a day before a date of infamy. And I want to show you a tweet here before we get started, where we're going to talk about the fact that this August will end quietly. That was not the case. I saw this on the Twitter today. And just listen to this. This is quite chilling. You remember this? I do. I was there. It goes on to do the message.
Devastating damage expected. Hurricane Katrina.
Yes, Hurricane Katrina. 19 years ago, we were on the Gulf Coast. My colleague Mike Watkins and myself getting ready to deploy the first generation of these enormous camera boxes. They were the size of footlockers. It took a lot to get these things going way back then. But yeah, this is what we were facing August 28th, 2005. And we all know what happened next. Luckily, and I do mean this right here, luckily we don't have anything to deal with like that this year just yet. The season was forecast to be very, very busy. It has been up until Ernesto. Now we've kind of run into this wall where nothing's happening. A lot of people scrambling to try to figure out why that's the case. But we roll on. We look and see what might be out there. We know all good and well, that the hurricane season is far from over. And that's just a fact. All right? And then we get days like this, August 28th, 2005. We need to remember those days because that's when things get really, really bad. Again, though, nothing like that out there right now. National Hurricane Center did highlight our little tropical storm doodad, as I called it yesterday. Just a joke. I don't make up the names, but I did yesterday, just kidding around. Out there in the open Atlantic, and then as we expand this to the next 7 days, an area of interest out here, some tropical wave and monsoon trough activity. There might be some development, but there's just some funk going on out across the Atlantic basin that's keeping things in check for now. In the East Pac, our trio of systems, we have two of them there, Gilma and Hector, getting ready to exit off to the left over here, or the west on this map. And if we scooch over to the Central Pacific, there they all are. All three of these are tropical storms now. Hone, or however you say it. I should have looked up the pronunciation guide, but it's okay. Gilma and Hector. And by the way, just remember, in case you're like, hey, wait a minute, why do we have two H storms on the map at the same time? The Central Pacific Area of Responsibility has its own list of names. Separate, there's the Central Pac, separate from the Eastern Pacific, which is separate from the Atlantic. So that's why we have two H storms. And the other reason is they just keep going down the alphabet in the Central Pacific because they are so rare. And in the East Pac, we get a new list every season. Does that make sense? I hope so. All right, so what's happening or not happening out there? Well, there's a few things to look at. First of all, there's our little tropical storm doodad, which is pretty much gone. Strong upper level winds. You can clearly see that ripping across the system. It looked a lot better yesterday, a lot healthier. Probably was technically a tropical cyclone, albeit very small. Whatever, it was not affecting anybody. Again, I'm not a maritime expert, but I'd venture to guess there's probably not much ship traffic through here. I don't know why there would be. So it was just interesting to see because we could see it, because we have such great satellite imagery. There is our intertropical convergence zone. And look in here. Clearly there's a little bit of mid-level rotation in here. But also, look what happens to any hint of thunderstorms that try to get going. They just poof away. The stable air mass, look at all, you can just clearly see the stable air here. Some of this is Saharan air coming right off Africa, and it's just not quitting. And so the tropical waves really don't last long enough to get over here. I mean, there's a surge of energy right there. Might be a tropical wave in there. But there's just no seedlings really to get over here and do anything. So this year is nice and quiet at the end of August, as opposed to many different ends of Augusts in years past. 2011, towards the end of August, we had Irene. Again, last year with Idalia. 2021 with Ida. Katrina in 05, and there are plenty others to cite. Now, the Gulf of Mexico is interesting because we do have some convergence in here, meaning, the air is coming together. Obviously, somewhat of a low-pressure trough or something in here because we've got convection, showers and thunderstorms in that area. And we'll have to watch that because Gulf temperatures are very, very warm. And anytime something just sits there for a while, stuff can happen. So we'll have to wait and see. Although, as I'll show you in a minute, there really isn't much vorticity down there. You look at the clouds and you think, oh, that could be a problem. But you look underneath the hood, so to speak, and there's just not much there. I don't know why I have the same satellite picture twice. Oh, I know. This is scooching. Is that a word? It is now. This is more to the west. Speaking of intertropical convergence zones, there it is there in the eastern Pacific. Looks like something else trying to curl up down there. And then here is, what would that be? Hector, I believe, in the eastern Pacific, getting ready to just die away over the cooler waters. And there's that system in the Gulf. Definitely bears watching because it is there. No doubt about it. Here's a close-up of it. In fact, I don't see any hints of rotation. There is air coming in. You can see that air trying to rush in this way. Not much evidence of strong upper-level winds cutting across the system. We don't see that. So there's a little bit of concern here. And there's lots of oil platforms out here as well. The oil industry in the Gulf, from Mexico and the U.S., pretty prominent. And any of these big thunderstorms out there can produce lightning and gusty winds. And so they monitor that for obvious reasons. And we monitor it, just to see, does anything start to organize. It is kind of interesting, too, to note, at least I don't see it very evident in the satellite imagery, you don't have a whole heck of a lot of those outflow boundaries, meaning there's dry air and air that's spreading away at the surface. So, yeah, we got to watch this. It's there. It's late August. The water temperatures are very, very warm. But, as you can see on the vorticity chart, there's just not much down here yet. There's our little doodad. That's what that looks like. If that were over here, I would be a lot more concerned, or even something like this. But we don't have that. There's just a little bit there, convergence or vorticity, where the air is trying to come together, relative vorticity or cyclonic vorticity. It's just really not much there, kind of spread out. But we will watch it, certainly. And then in the tropical Atlantic, this is just a mess. Look at all this. What is all that? It's disorganized. That is for sure. There's nothing brewing out there. And so we don't have to worry about the tropical Atlantic between Africa and the islands much at all. But this is, again, why we need to watch the Gulf of Mexico. Interesting, too. Remember all that 31 degrees Celsius stuff I was screaming about? Look, it's all shifted down here. It's really weird. It's almost like, and I'm just making an analogy, it's like an iceberg that broke off, and now it's moved to the south and west. It was all up in here, and it's just kind of migrated and morphed and changed and evolved. And now these warm 31-plus anomalies, well, they're not anomalies. Well, they are, but the isotherm, that's the word I'm looking for. That's all down here. Nevertheless, anything in this green color on to the right on the scale, all of this is still 29, 30 Celsius. And that is very, very warm. So, yeah, we'll watch and see what that system does as it festers along in the Gulf of Mexico. And a reminder, a couple things here. The Gulf is warmer than average everywhere, as is the deep tropical Atlantic. So I'm telling you, and I'm just reminding you because we know how things can turn, it is hard to see how we get out of this without a couple of really nasty ones coming along. I mean, we saw what happened with Beryl. I think we're almost to the point where we can forget the hyperactive season, a lot of name storms, big ace score. That might be going the way of, like, whoops, somebody messed up, didn't see things, the weather's humbling, blah, blah, blah. That'll be for other people to figure out. And we start really focusing on, all right, what's going to be left in what would be a regular hurricane season. You understand? We could still have 8 or 10 more named storms, but I don't think we're going to hit 20 or 25. That seems unlikely. So a sports analogy, because people absorb what they know, is we could still win the Super Bowl. It's just not going to be a blowout. And I hate having that analogy that this is a game, because it sounds like I'm, diminishing it. Clearly, we don't do that here at HurricaneTrack. None of us. But that's the analogy. A win is a win in that analogy. We thought we were going to blow them out. Well, you won by 3 points or whatever, a field goal. You still won the Super Bowl. So we still have to be careful that we don't just say, well, the forecasts were wrong. We're not going to have a hyperactive season because A, we don't know that for sure. It's not looking very good. And B, we still have the potential with all that warm water out there. And dude, this is just logic. Everybody, seriously. Of course, we still have to watch this stuff because all that warm water sitting out there, we don't know. We don't know for sure. Clearly, because it looks like the seasonal forecasts are not going to work out on one spectrum, but we still have to watch for those ones that do make it through. You understand? And then I look at that La Nina really trying to come on now. We still have all of September and all of October to get through, and even November. Our friends in the Caribbean could deal with some November action. Got a long way to go. 3 months is a long time, so don't write it off just yet, even though some have. And that's understandable. Hey, I can't blame you. Looking at our friend, I guess you can call it that, the GFS here, the Global Forecast System, the operational model. This is the 850 millibar chart. As you know, I like this very much because, boy, oh boy, if you typically don't see it here, you don't see it at all. That low-level part of the atmosphere, about 5,000 feet or so, there's the little doodad out there, and it shows up. Kind of small, but it's there. Not much in the Gulf of Mexico, and man, oh man, just really in the deep tropics at the end of August with all that warm water out there? It is surprising, that's for sure. So let's run this out for a week and see what happens. So there's 168 hours right about there. And what do we see? Well, big old high pressure area generally covering the Atlantic with a trough in between here. That's for sure. Some energy out here, but nothing to write home about. Little spike of energy near the Yucatan. This is September the 4th. And that is just about it. The tropical waves active over Africa. So we'll see if this stays active and moves further south over time, and the Atlantic can get seeded better, and the pattern changes. I know it's like if, that's what we have to watch for. And I mean, I'm not stretching, it's the truth. You never know. And it's not like Africa is shut down. It's very wet. And there's just other funky things going on. So we just got to be on top of it. That's what we're all about. All right? All right. Talked about this yesterday. Typhoon Shanshan, or however you pronounce it. Not as well organized as it was yesterday, but boy, it is delivering quite the punch for our friends in Japan, as we thought it might. This is what it looks like on a lot of the guidance here from the Weather Nerd site. It wasn't pulling up on tropical tidbits for whatever reason. Let me just show you. I go over here to current storms, and it's gone. I don't know why. So I went over to the Weather Nerds, and it's there. So I wanted to show you it from this perspective. And these are the different model guidance pieces. A big, big problem over there. And as I also mentioned, you figured our good friend, never met him in person that I can recall. I don't think I have. If I have and I forgot, I'm sorry. But he seems like a really cool lad. And he is working with Morgaman, Josh Morgaman over there, iCyclone. And that's some of the video. I want to share it with you. This is over in Japan. This is the island of Makirazaki or something like that. Fierce winds and sheets of rain flying everywhere. Or he said every. Probably hard to type in this kind of stuff. Sporadic lightning too. It's still dark in Japan, at least when he posted this a half hour ago. And he's with iCyclone, the great Josh Morgaman, who's been in more cyclones probably than anybody alive all around the world, as you probably know. But I thought I'd show it to you because I mentioned it yesterday, and there it is. All right? And just to show you, this is where they are, if I have this correct, and my Google is working properly. And if we zoom out, the power of the internet. the southwest side here of Kyushu, one of the islands of Japan, and the typhoon menacing that area right through here. And it's going to dilly-dally around over the coming days and be a big, big flood problem. Speaking of flood problems, I saw this on my Twitter today. You know about our partnership with QuickDam. This is really, really cool. I'm going to put a link to it in today's update. I'm telling you, this company, I'm so thrilled to keep working with them. All the neat things that they have, the innovation, their ads, their way of presenting stuff. It's just really cool. And I thought, oh, this is really neat how they explain the setting up of one of these products that can help you, especially with a large building. You know, we talk about the flood bags and the water dams and things that consumers can buy for a few $100s to protect a $500,000 home. What about a $10 or $20 million business or a data center or a bank or whatever? They have solutions for that too. In this, I don't know who makes these things. That's so cool. I wish I had some stuff like that about how we set up our equipment and whatever for hurricanes. That doodle animation thing, it's just a really effective way. And there's really good narration in here, kind of juxtaposing the old method versus what they have. And again, just trying to help people out there. It's a great partnership, and you should check this out. And if you have any interest, especially you got a big building, a commercial building, or whatever, you need to protect it, they got you covered there as well, the folks up at QuickDam in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Yep, right here in the good old northeast U.S. of A. All right, so this August, will end on a quiet note, almost assuredly. How will September end? Isn't that a song? Something from Green Day? It's coming in just a few days on September 1st. When September ends, it's drilled into my head, right? That melody. We don't know how September will end. Obviously, I'll be here between now and the end of September, which is, goes to 30 days, as you well know. And we'll see. Will we be saying the same thing? If that's the case, man, the hurricane forecasting science really took it on the chin if we still have nothing a month from today. And as interesting as and as weird as it sounds, it would be fascinating if that's the case. To absolutely have the rug pulled out from something that we were pretty confident about. That in itself does have value, because science is also all about discovery, even when you fail. But we haven't failed yet, and a quiet end of August does not guarantee the next 90 days will end up the same. So I'm here doing what I do. All right, thanks for tuning in and being a part of it. I appreciate it. As always, I hope you learned something along the way. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. It's a good thing. You can get notifications when we post cool videos and our documentaries and all kinds of other stuff. And especially when we go live, whenever that is. It'll be happening again sooner rather than later, I'm sure. So it's great to have you along with us. All right? From all of us at HurricaneTrack, I'm Mark Sudduth. I'll talk to you again some more tomorrow.